you to all returning listeners and watchers. If it's your first time checking us out, welcome. Please let us know what you think by subscribing and following us on all social platforms at SitM Podcast. And also hit that subscribe button to get weekly notifications. My guest today is the founder of Street Consulting LLC, a bookkeeping and financial advisory service. And he's also a podcaster. He is one of the hosts of Now You Know podcast. It's none other than Belner. Welcome to Stuck in the Podcast, bro.
Hello. It's good to be back. I miss you guys, man. I miss being in the studio, chatting with you guys, making noise, causing trouble as always. But yeah, it's good to be back.
Yes, sir. Well, I mean, today you're back on, the platform as a founder, or, your side passion, you know what I mean? Let's get into it, man. What is Street Consulting LLC? What's the mission? What's the purpose there?
So the reason behind the company, right? Because I think if you notice, like the last few years, right, a lot of people have been moving into entrepreneurship, right? Everybody wants to start a business, which is a very good trend, right? Everybody wants to own a business because I think when COVID hit, people realized that they actually had certain talents that they were not really using. People realized that they could create content, they could cook certain kinds of food, they could create things with their hands. All kinds of talent was coming up, right? So everybody wanted to start a business. Now, the thing is, there's a lot that goes on with, having a business than what people think, right? Because having a business is one thing, but, you have to deal with the IRS, you have to deal with state laws and things like that. So I'm like, okay, I can be an entrepreneur too. But in this case, the purpose now is to help this, small business owners in terms of, okay, yes, you have an LLC. Yes, you call yourself a CEO. Yes, you call yourself an entrepreneur. But are you in line with, federal legislation, state legislations, all these little things that you might not think of? Because at the end of the day, guess what? If you don't file taxes, your ass is getting sent to jail.
Right.
Yep. So that's why I said, okay, start a business, get people in line with regulations, make sure that their numbers are in check. And then at the end of the year, you file the taxes and then they're good to go. They're always in green. IRS not going to call you and you're good to go. So that was kind of the idea behind behind Street Consulting.
So what services do you offer then?
So right now, we do bookkeeping. That's our big thing, right? So we do bookkeeping services. We do file your taxes for you. And then also we just gonna do like kind of advisory in terms of if we see certain trends that are happening and it might align with your business, we let you know. So it's just kind of like, if something is happening that would benefit your business that I've seen, I would definitely, bring that to your attention. And then one other thing that we also do is we do offer Excel classes because a lot of people are also switching into the IT field where Excel is, very critical in terms of, your day-to-day activities. So these are the things that we do offer Street Consulting.
Mm-hmm. Real quick before jumping to Excel, people, like with the, financial services and all whatnot, especially filing taxes, right? Like you need like some certification, or some people actually do go to school for this. Like, for the listeners, watching and stuff, I'll be like, man, what is credentials? Like what credentials do you have for the services that you offer?
Well, my credentials, I have a lot of credentials. Actually, I don't have a lot of credentials. So I do hold an MBA I have an MBA in IT actually, but I have my bachelor's in accounting and business administration. So those are my credentials. In terms of taxing, at Street Consulting, we do have a tax expert. It's a CPA person, and he's going to handle all your taxes for you. Mm-hmm. So, that's the thing with businesses, right? You can have a business, but you have an expert as well. So that's what we're doing. We have an expert that's going to handle all your tax for you.
Right. When you say we, like, who's the team?
Oh, so right now, it's a 3-man team. So my wife She's the boss. She's the CEO. She handles all the, all the good stuff. I just go ahead and find clients and I send them to her. And then the tax person is a contractor. So I'm not gonna put the information out there, but you guys are in good hands.
Nice. Man, all right, let's switch to Excel, right? The purpose of this call, actually. You do educate individuals on Excel, right?
Mm-hmm.
2023, some people might be going saying Excel, like, the advancements of technology and stuff like that. Who's still thinking about Excel? But I mean, I for one, I use Excel on a day-to-day basis. Especially pivot tables and those different things to query stuff. So, I mean, in a nutshell, man, like, what inspired you to even want to pick Excel? Others pick AWS or pick Scrum, project management. Why Excel?
Why Excel? Because it's like your fundamentals, right? And I mean, the main driver behind Excel is I get a lot of phone calls on a daily basis. Like, hey, Mel, can you help me with this Excel thing? Mel, can you help me with that Excel thing? Mel, can you have 10 minutes to get on a call and help me out with Excel? So, after a while, it's like, but okay, if I can just teach these people, because the thing is, I can help you today, right? But you don't take notes. You're going to come back to me tomorrow, right? Mm-hmm. So, okay, if I can just have a class where I just bring all those people together and say, okay, yeah, let's sit down for 4 weeks, right? 4 weeks, 8 classes, and we just figure everything. I teach you everything you need to know about Excel. Like, I'm good to go then, right? So that was the thought process. Like, I just teach you everything that you need to know, and then you're good to go. You can leave me alone. So that's one thing. The second thing is, as people, like I mentioned earlier, as people are switching into the IT field, right? You obviously need to get your hands dirty, right? Mm-hmm. And Excel is something that we use on a daily basis, right? It makes your life very easy, because there'll be days where somebody can send you raw data from an external system. It could be like a database. It could be even something as small as a notepad, like a CSV file, right? Yeah, you have to convert into Excel before the data becomes meaningful to you. If you can't do that, then are you really an IT person? No. So the reason for Excel is because it's kind of like the fundamentals. So you need to kind of know your way around Excel to be able to, if you're doing Scrum, you have to use formulas to kind of calculate capacity, velocity, circumference. All my Scrum people, they do that stuff. If you work in accounting, right, you have to do reports, and your reports are based on calculations in Excel. So Excel kind of makes your life easy, because the things that you can sit here and do manually that would take hours, that Excel can give it to you in 2 minutes.
Right.
So those are kind of the main 2 reasons why I decided to add that to the things that we offer at Street 3 Consulting.
How much does it cost?
It's very cheap. It's actually very cheap. It's like $250 right now. But I'm thinking, I've been seeing things, and people have been sending me things.
You want to up that price, huh?
So it looks like the price might be going up soon. But I mean, the idea is not to it's not really about the money, because long term, right? Like, the plan is, once you go through the course, you become part of a community, right? Like a group chat where, say, for example, you came to the class, right? You finish the class, you're good to go. You become now in a group chat with the other students, right? So now if somebody needs help on every day at their job, they need help, they come and post their issue in the group chat, and someone that has taken the class will be able to help them. So that's the whole idea. Like, it's not about the money. It's just about creating a community where, everybody can benefit from each other. Because, I mean, I'll be there too, but, I will pitch in when I can, but I think I leave it on to the students, like, take what you've learned and help somebody else. Right. So it's not really about the money. I'm not saying that the money is not good. The money is good, but it's not about the money, right? Just having that community of like-minded people, networking and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Man, what are some common misconceptions or misunderstandings that people might have, when it comes to Excel? Like, and how do you help them overcome those? Like, how do you sway their minds?
I mean, people always say that Excel is like, everything you do in life is hard, right? Once you learn it, it's not hard anymore, right? So with Excel, people always get scared of formulas, right? It's like, damn, formula. I don't know how to write the formula. I don't know how to, I don't know where to, I don't know how. So pretty much you just got, I mean, because with Excel, right? Like people who have studied Excel experts, they can just type the formulas with ease, just type it in, right? But if you actually go into Excel, you can actually open the function argument where you can see exactly what, your inputs are going to be, right? Because experts can just type it in because they've done it so many times. But as a beginner, you can actually see that window where it tells you that, okay, this is what you need to put. And with Microsoft products, right? If you're ever stuck on a formula or anything, there's a help link, right? The hyperlink that is really right there. You click on that link, it opens up Microsoft, and it kind of guides you in terms of what needs to be done. So it's only hard if you don't at least sit down, take a look, and try it. But once you start, because I think my class right now we're 3/4 done, and it's making sense to them. Like a lot of things that I thought were hard, it's like that's it. So once you try it, it's very easy.
Yeah, man. Teaching is Excel class, right? There might be beginners, people who are in the middle, or people who are like advanced, but they just want to come in and still get what you're teaching and stuff like that. How do you make sure that everybody's on the same playing field? From day one going all the way to infinity to the end, not infinity, but to the end.
Yeah. So pretty much the idea of, for example, teaching, right? When you're teaching, let's say you're teaching college, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're teaching college. So you're teaching, say, your freshman. You kind of know that they've had some prior experience from like high school and things like that. So they'll come in there with like a base. But with this class, everybody has a different background, right? So even if I have an expert in my class, we're all going back to Genesis.
Right.
We're going back to the absolute basics, right? If you're bored, you're bored, right? It's okay. But we'll eventually get to the part where you don't know. But everybody has to go back to Genesis because that's how you build a foundation, right? So I don't care if you've done Excel for 10 straight years or it is your first time seeing it. We're all going back to Genesis because that's the foundation. And if you don't have the foundation, there's no point of doing anything else.
Right. Hey, you mentioned the formulas, right? Excel formulas. That's one of the things that one of people's biggest challenges when it comes to Excel. Other than the formulas, what other issues or challenges have you seen that people have dealing with Excel?
A key one is having to get data from like other systems into Excel. People are just going to copy and paste, and then it just looks completely, it looks way off, right? Or being able to understand what errors Excel's giving you. Because if formula is incorrect, right, you're going to get error messages. Now it's like, okay, what does this error actually mean, right? That's why, I know, for example, people who do like developers, right? When you want to give an error message to an end user, it has to make sense, right? So that's how I know people who have done AWS, SAP, or Oracle, they'll tell you about validations, right? Validations. Validation rules, right? Validation rules kind of make things easier for end users to understand. So pretty much being able to teach Excel, students that, okay, if you see this error, this is what it means, and this is how you fix it, right? Because if you see those errors, it's like, okay, well, what do I do with it? So that's the thing. Even not just with Excel, right? Even in my line of work, right, in SAP, when we build programs, we want to make sure that the error messages are meaningful to the end users because we're the ones giving them that product to use, right? They didn't design it, we did, and we gave it to them to use. So we have to make sure that those things make sense.
What are some important Excel skills that people need to learn, right, in order to be successful? Not just in their career, but for students as well. Like, what are some things that students as well face? I have a sister who's currently studying Excel too, and she's like really struggling with it. So what are some things that it's important for them to know?
So this also comes back to finance, right? Because right now in my class, what we're building like as our workbook is around finance, right? Finance and budgeting and knowing your expenses. So Excel is going to help you do that, right? You build your, you can build, say, your monthly budget where you put your, for example, you put your income and you put everything you have, like your rent, your bills, your, extracurricular activities, your child expenses, all those things, you put them in an Excel template. And you can actually see where all your money is going to, right? And this can help you in terms of tracking your expenses or saying that, okay, this one I have, I don't necessarily need it. I can cut this out of my life, right? It's not important for me. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm doing this I'm doing this indirectly, but I'm showing them that with Excel, you can use it for managing your money, of course. You can use it to track your expenses. Maybe you belong to some group that you need to kind of keep track of members and other things like that. You can always use that with Excel. And then obviously when you're done, you can always export that into a report. You can create reports. So I mean, it can be used for everything, not just for work, right? Because if you want to spend money on a software like maybe QuickBooks or things like that, that's more money you can use. Excel is free, right? Once you have it, you're good to go. You can do the same thing with that.
Yeah, I was saying like, our mothers, our aunties, playing Jenga and they're writing them things in the books and you saying they're like, I'm like, bro, what are you doing? So I'm like, if only you could just grab an Excel, workbook and just type in all this stuff and make your life easier. You know what I mean?
Let me tell you, in my old in my old job when I used to do accounting, right? So one of the ladies, she was in the company. She'd been there way when the company started, and they had to do journal entries on paper. She was telling me how they had to go write the account number, write the amount, put the debit, put the credit. I'm like, wow.
And that sounds painful.
I'm like, it's painful.
Sounds painful as hell.
I don't know how you did it, but yeah.
Right.
Long time ago.
Hey man, listen, to be a teacher, right, you need to be up to date, with, the day and day, like the latest, right, on everything Excel, features, functions, all that good stuff, man. How do you stay up to date, for the benefit of your students?
So the good thing is, I do have the Office 365 where I'm able to see all the new changes. But the thing with Excel is the fundamentals are never going to change, right? The formulas are never going to change. Maybe they might change the colors or the logos or, add new themes and things like that. But the fundamentals, right? Those are never, ever, ever, ever changing, right? So in terms of keeping up with that, yeah, I mean, I do see the updates, but in terms of how does it affect the students, it doesn't really affect the students. So the material is always going to be the same, right? The icon can switch from left on your screen to right on your screen, but it's going to do the same exact thing.
Right. Once you know the, underlying foundation, you're good. Yeah. But to that too, what are some of the most exciting or innovative ways that, you've seen Excel being used in the workplace or in education?
So pretty much extracting data, creating like pivot tables, pivot charts, and then having to represent that data in a way that would make sense, right? Like, for example, someone can just send you a raw data, like this is everything from the month, make it meaningful, right? So obviously you take that data, you convert it into a table, you can sort it, you can make reports, right? Because like I was telling my students, when you have your logic, like what do you want to see? For example, say when I see sales by salesperson, by region, by year, right? You have that logic. Now the fun now is actually building it, right? So you go to your table and you're able to build that particular logic and see it come out, right? You can put it in a table format, you can put it in a chart format or a graph, and then be able to present that to somebody. So that's kind of, like doing that with the students and having them try it, I've seen like, they were like, wow, this is fun, or this is cool. So those are reactions that, you get as a teacher, where when you show them something that is meaningful that they can actually use, on the job, right? Because they'll tell you like, this is the issue that I face in my job, or, how do I go about fixing it, right? So those are kind of things that will make sense. Or if a student comes to class with a problem, maybe the formula was incorrect or they're pulling the wrong information, and you're able to help them or guide them, like this is what you should have done, and then it makes sense to them. Because at the end of the day, if it makes sense to you, the teacher, and not to the students, you're kind of wasting your time, right? It has to
Right.
make sense to everybody in class.
Right. Being there has to make sense to everybody in class, right? How do you help people develop their own unique Excel workflows and processes that work best for them?
Good question. So, ideally, when we started building our workbook, right, I told them, like, don't just copy what I'm doing in terms of my own expenses. Put in what your actual expenses are. That way, you can, when you're done with the class, you can still use this workbook for your, for your everyday life. So we're not just making it, based on what I'm saying. And then also, when I build exercises, I tend to kind of use like the names of the students to make it interactive. Just keep everybody on their toes. Like, oh, why is my name on this worksheet? Oh, okay, it makes sense. So just keeping the class interactive, making it fun for everybody around, because nobody wants to dote or
Right.
slow teacher.
But nah, listen, there's some people out there who, might hear this and go, hey, man, I know I have an extensive knowledge in Excel, right? And they feel as though they have something to contribute, to your organization, or maybe they want to start theirs as well. What advice do you have for them? Like anybody who wants to train, or anybody who's looking at Excel and saying that, hey, man, nobody's still using this stuff these days, or it's outdated, or it's difficult, like I forgot Excel, like what should I do?
Yeah.
What advice do you have for them?
Anybody that wants to teach Excel, by all means, do so. There are a lot of people that actually do need Excel, not just for work, maybe for their life. If you're running Django, you don't want to be having anything in the book. What if the book gets missing, right? And also, if you want to learn, you have the people that teach Excel, right, all over the place. So you just have to find where it makes sense for you. Because some of my students, I have some students who are like during the class time, they're actually not in class, but they do watch the videos, and then they reach out to me because I do give homework assignment. They reach out to me and say, hey, this is my homework assignment. I couldn't make it to class, review it. So, there's a lot that goes on, but the overarching concept here is that make sure that you're giving them value for their money, because you don't just want to take the money and just give them BS teaching, right? Yeah, because my idea is to teach them 100% of what do we use on their job 80% of the time, right? The other 20% is probably stuff that you probably never use in your life. So I want to make sure that when they're on the job, they have the knowledge to be able to, make things and break things and then refix them again while on their job. So that's kind of the advice that I'll give people.
Yeah. That's some key point right there, making like actually doing something, without being scared of breaking it. And even if you do, not scared to even go ask for help, right? Because once you break something, it's easier for you to learn and not do it again. You know what I mean? So yeah. What advice do you give yourself as an instructor, on a day-to-day life? And, I'm going to teach, say, from Monday to Wednesday or Monday to Friday. What am I going to do this week, or looking at next week? What am I planning for? What advice do you give yourself?
Yeah, so the only advice that I give myself is to come prepared for class, because I don't want to come to class I'm not prepared. It looks bad on myself. So what I do is I do have an outline of what I plan to teach the entire 4 weeks, because the classes are every Saturday and Sunday for 4 weeks. So we have 8 classes total. So I do have an outline of the entire course, right? It's 3 phases. There's the beginner phase, there's the intermediate phase, and then obviously you have the advanced phase. So pretty much I have my, how people preach, right? Preachers who preach, they have their notes. So as a teacher, I have my notes too. So I have a whole outline of the entire course. And then pretty much I just mark where we stop, right? And then I will pick up from there the next time. Or obviously also we do review. I always review back with them and say, okay, this is what we did yesterday, this is what we did last week. Do you have any questions? And then we also have the group chat that's open throughout the week. I've seen it being utilized. Students do send messages in there like, hey, what did I miss? Or I have this issue, who can help? So it makes sense. So pretty much it's just having that course outline with my notes, it kind of makes sense. And then I just throw in a few quizzes there and there to get them, active.
Yep. Hey, man, I can't leave without asking this question. For your student, if you were your student,
right,
you had to rate you on a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate yourself?
I'll give myself a 4 because this is my first class, and obviously there will be some rough patches, which is, first time, obviously. You cannot perfect something the very first go around, so I wouldn't give myself a 5. This is my first batch. I've seen where improvements need to be made, right? So definitely the content is there. It's just the delivery that needs, a little bit of work. So that's why it's a 4.
Gotcha. And as far as taxes, is there anything you would like the listeners to know in terms of, taxes or bookkeeping, your other services that you provide under Street 3 Consulting LLC?
Oh yeah, definitely. Just give me a call. I'm sure SITM are going to put the information on this episode. So just give us a call and we can sit down. We'll send you a questionnaire to kind of get to know your business, and then we will sit down and talk to you and see how we can form that relationship, going forward.
For sure. Any other thing you'd like the listeners and watchers to know before we close this recording?
Don't worry, next Excel class begins April 8th, I believe. So sign up.
All right. Yeah, man. Y'all heard the man. His name is Belner. He is the founder of Street 3 Consulting LLC, a bookkeeping and financial advisory services. And he's also one of the hosts of Now You Know podcast. Go check him out on all streaming platforms. Also check us out on all streaming platforms at SitM Podcast. We would love to engage and participate with you. Subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking the link, the button below. The email for referrals, questions, and your concerns as well is SitM Podcast 237@gmail.com. Hope you enjoyed this show. Until next time, thank you. I'm your host, Uncle AK. Thank you for checking out this episode, and we are out.
Stuck in the Middle. This is your girl, Adele Clarice. Shout out to Stuck in the Middle podcast. We love you guys. Mwah.
General, I feel like I'm stuck in the middle. Stuck in the Middle podcast. Big shout out to the family. I'm talking Reflex, AK, Achuri, and the rest of the gang. Hey, make sure you bring all your important information, your art, everything. In the DMV, doesn't matter where you are, come to the DMV to Stuck in the Middle podcast. That's where it's happening.